terms of challenges, in terms of the processes that go inside a dealership. How do they buy inventory? How do they price? How do they approach it? What are the nitty-gritty minutiae that are challenges faced by the industry? So we thought we should have a webinar. So this is going to be recorded, and thereafter it'll be pushed out on other channels, LinkedIn, YouTube, and so on, so that the knowledge is preserved. Once again, good morning, Jason. Glad to have you
Good
here.
morning. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Yeah. Now we also have with us Market Check. So we have Guy, who is the leader at Market Check. That's the provider of auto market data for the US. He's also on the webinar with us. Guy, you want to say hi?
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, thank you.
Looking
So
forward to
we'll
the
quickly, absolutely. Guy, jump in, and that's true for the others, Eli, Steve, Rafael. I want this to be of value to you. So you have a question, you have some clarification, just jump in. That's most important rather than a monologue. So we'll start this off with me asking Jason. Jason, you're a leader in the space, and the industry has faced a lot of challenges. There's a strike, there's a chip shortage, there's a lot of volatility. It's sort of different the last 6 months. So talk to us about the challenges faced by the auto industry, auto dealerships at this time.
I think that it's not just going to be nailed down to one challenge that the automotive industry is currently facing. The automotive industry has faced COVID. They have faced a chip shortage. They have faced inventory shortages. Now you have some banks that over the past 2 years, I believe the repossession rate on a lot of these vehicles that were sold during COVID is over 170%. And with those repossessions coming in, they are hitting back into the market via Manheim, via OVE, and via other places. And banks have been very selective about slowly sprinkling those units throughout the market so the value of them does not tank the market, so to say. It's been a slow decline, and now we're faced with a strike. And with this strike, there's a lot of uncertainty. It also was brought up earlier that the fact that the interest rates are sky high compared to where they were 2 years ago. And the household median income in the United States is roughly, let's say, $40,000 to $50,000 an individual. I think the last research I did on it, or no, I'm sorry, the average car price that the median household of what the United States can afford is around $40,000. So when you're looking at brands like Mercedes, BMW, Audi, anything that would be luxury, or even the domestics that have units like Tahoes with the Denali's, or the expensive Ford trucks or the Dodges, the average American home can't afford those. And you want to tack on a higher interest rate that makes them almost unattainable. So what you're effectively doing is shrinking the effective market of those buyers, and you have to find that select group of buyers that can, one, A, afford those cars, and B, to have the means necessary to buy them. That's where getting into appraising cars and purchasing cars from said auctions or from said other dealers becomes much more important and much more time consuming for somebody that would be in the used car market as a used car buyer or as a used car manager at a store. Combing through all of that data to find what the prices are being sold for at the auction, having to compare them to what can be sold on your local market, and judge that against a black book, an NAD or a JD Power book, a Kelley Blue book, a Kelley Blue Book fair market pricing guide. All of those books are so out of whack right now. There's nothing really in sync. The only thing you could look at and really is go by your gut in what the cars are selling for locally in your area of what you think you might be able to get for them. It's a very difficult process right now. And it's a very difficult world to live in as far as the automotive industry is concerned, or that I care to say about.
This a very, very interesting perspective, the macro view. And so gives us a segue into the next set of questions is auto dealers, especially the used auto dealers, have the twin pricing problem. You have to acquire at a right price, at a low price. You have to keep it for the right period of time, and you have to sell at the right price. So you are able to make the right kind of margins. It's a challenging situation now. What are the challenges that dealerships face? How much time do you spend on pricing? What data do you use? I mean, how do you know, hey, this is inventoried out, this has stayed too long, so I got to do something? Talk to us about the challenges you're facing as a leader in this space.
Well, luckily, I'm very fortunate to currently be working with a company that I don't have a very high age unit. Some of the cars that I have aging currently right now are the 70,000 plus cars or some of the specialty cars. The biggest thing for me is to scour the auctions like Manheim through OVE, find the right deal, finding that deal. And some weekends I'll go through 3,000 or 4,000 cars. And that's the God's honest truth, just to find 3. And those 3, in turn, if I buy them correctly and I get them, to the dealership correctly, market them fast, get the photos online fast, that leads to a quick turn for the BDP inputs, the SRP inputs, the inquiries, the leads that are going to come in. The faster I can get a lead on that car, the faster I can start selling that car. The faster I sell that car, the more likely I am to hopefully catch a trade, maybe scoop the financing. One way or another, look for the next opportunity to make money. It may not be that one car deal that I buy that makes me the money that I'm looking for. And I think that's where a lot of people get kind of hung up in this business, is to think of the small picture, the very small-minded thing of that one car deal, this deal right here is only making me $500. Okay, well, that's where the mindset has to be shifted. That $500, if you follow the path of where that $500 started, did you get a trade-in? Did you have your salespeople do a trade walk? Did they acquire the trade correctly? Did they go out with the customer and show what was wrong with the trade to where I can say the trade is worth this much money versus what the customer's expectations are? It's about lowering the customer's expectations on that trade value. And right now, that sort of training is ever more important. And to make sure that I look to the future of, let's say I don't sell this car within my 30-day period, I've got to look at my out. What's my out? Right now, the auction is where the out is, but the auction values vastly change on a weekly basis. So one of the tools that I'm currently using is actually with AutoTrader. AutoTrader has a new MMR, what would be a guessing tool or estimating of what MMR would be 30 days away from today's date. So when my cars are priced and they hit my website, I can go into that tool and it can tell me 28, 30 days out from now, this is what it's predicting the value of that car is going to be at the auction. At that point, I have a decision to make.
Go ahead. Yeah, sorry, but completely.
So I have to make the decision to either drop my price on the car, move the unit, try to scoop finance, try to scoop a trade, or unload it for a break-even price or loss, or hopefully a little bit of profit at the auction.
Very, very interesting. Let's go back to what you started. Is you sometimes look at 4,000 cars, and you end up selecting 3 or 4 cars to get into your parking lot.
Yes.
Right? So we all think of sales leaders as mostly focused on their inventory and pricing the inventory and selling it, positioning it, talking to customers. But I think a big role is sourcing the right kind of cars for your situation and sourcing at the right price. Right? Mm-hmm. We all understand that you could source the right inventory, but if it's not the right price, it's no good for you.
Correct.
So talk to us, what are the methods you use to source cars, and how do you know it's the right price wherein you would make a profit, or at least Go ahead.
Look, knowing is not. It doesn't exist. You don't know if you're ever going to make a profit. It's like going to Las Vegas and you take $10,000 and you put 10 grand on black. Do you know if black's going to win? The answer is no, you don't. But you know what? It's a gamble. Literally everything that we do in the car business as used car managers, or I mean, hell, even for that sake, new car managers, is a gamble. It's a roll of the dice as to whether or not that car is going to come in and make money. Same thing with a new car manager. A new car manager orders a car from the factory with the wrong color scheme, the wrong options, that historically our client base is not going to buy. It's going to sit and age. It's the same thing with the used cars. If I end up buying a pink G-Wagon and I put it on the lot in Hilton Head, do I have the demographics that's going to buy a pink G-Wagon? The answer is probably not. But if I threw it in downtown Miami, it's probably going to sell real quick. As far as sourcing is concerned, one thing, obviously Manheim is a great asset to have. I use the Manheim literally daily. I go to my local auctions, and I will even scour other dealerships within my area's websites to see if they have other cars that might be of interest to me. And I have no problem reaching out to those dealerships, almost like a cold call, asking the used car manager, can you sell me the car? And a lot of this is also building relationships when I go to the auction. By going to the auctions physically, I can shake hands, meet people, talk to them face to face, build that relationship with them, and then maybe they call me for the value instead of putting their own number in it, and I give them a different buy figure for a car based upon what they're telling me the car looks like and whatnot, and we get cars that way.
Excellent. Just a gold mine of information. Let's go back to one of the points you mentioned, that you have no problem in reaching out to the local car dealerships around you, potentially competition, and saying, I see this car in the market. You listed at this price. Can you sell me that? Help me understand what proportion of your sales or of your inventory sort of belongs in that category, and why would you do it? What's the purpose of doing that?
I would say over the last 2 months, I would say I can attribute a minimum of 10 to 15 car deals off of just that process.
And out of 10 to 50 car deals, out of how many car deals in total?
We average around 50 used cars a month. So I would say, is it a huge percentage? No, but I can tell you the profit on those deals is significantly higher than that of what I would have bought the vehicle for at the auction. And there's a lot of times also buying a car at the auction, you can find the dealer in which is selling it underneath the contact information. No offense to anybody that works for the auction here, but why not call that dealer and see if you can buy it directly from them, and you avoid the auction fees at that point. Or avoiding those auction fees, you can then in turn save $300, $400, maybe $1,000 off of what your end all cost is going to be for that transaction. Having the lower cost initially come into your dealership means you can make more profit on the vehicle in the long run.
Excellent, Jason. Well, why would you say it's a low percent? You said 10 to 15 deals out of 50.
Yeah,
That's about 20 to 30%. That's a lot of percentage that you, right?
Yeah.
Super. So in other words, I think having assistance, I'm trying to think of the kind of support. So having somebody prompting you with an analysis saying, look at these 9 cars out there. You may want to buy them because your processes, your demographics is such that you can sell the cars better than those guys.
Correct.
Very nice. Talk to us about, go ahead, Guy. Go ahead. You had a question.
Hey, I had a question. Yeah, I had a question from earlier for Jason, because you talked about like the importance of the trades too, right? And trade-ins from,
yes,
and that's a big part of the deal, right? And making the margins and acquiring inventory. And I mean, you talked about setting expectations with the with them on their trade-in. That's really important, right? And
Yes.
a lot of people looking at trading in their car right now bought something for way overpriced last year or the year before, right? So what do you think are the best ways, like how do you manage setting those expectations with them, like so that they can understand that it's a different market now and their car is definitely worth less,
One, I think it starts with a conversation. And one, you have to have an adequate sales staff that is equipped to have those conversations with their customers. That starts with me as a manager. That starts with the other managers in the building. I don't think anybody is dumb enough to think that we're in the same market. Some people are still thinking that we're going to get those numbers or we're going to get these high values, and that's just simply not going to happen. I like to prep my guys and my staff, my ladies out there, with information and data. So I will print out the values of what KBB is saying the car's worth. I will print out what JD Power is saying. I will print out, like with the company we currently use is Viato. So with Viato, I print out the competitive set of what their cars are selling for, what they're trading in is currently selling for in the market right now today, and value it based upon that and educate them. I will write down on the appraisal exactly what the car needs, if it needs tires, if it needs brakes. And the due diligence is not only on the sales staff, but it's also on me and my other management staff to go out there and look at the car, measure the tires. I even take my phone and I will put it inside of the rim to take a picture of the brake pads to know whether or not the brake pads are close to being done, because I know that is an expense. There's so many details that we can look at and reflect on when appraising the car to devalue it, essentially, is what we're trying to do. And when we devalue those things, providing the customer with the data points and physically looking at a piece of paper in black and white that shows their car's worth this. And how many people come into the store and don't already do the research on what their car's worth? I think
Sure.
the hill that we have to climb with that is not necessarily as large as some people may make it out to be, because 95% of the people are going to come into the dealership with a thought process of, my car is worth XXX. Okay, and they already know their car's worth XXX based upon the data that they've researched. Our job is to try to get it for just a little bit less than what they're kind of anticipating to cover some of our expenses and our costs. And we do that by a proper trade appraisal and a walk around with the customer. I mean, everybody talks about, the sales wheel hasn't been reinvented. Nobody's reinvented the sales wheel since we started selling cars. But the processes can get redefined by educating your sales members. Hey, did you go out and walk that car with your customer? Did they walk it with you? Did they see the dent that you pointed out in the car? The whole silent walk around thing now is where it's significantly more important for a dealership to have that process in place in order for them to get back some of those small margins. And the small margins that they can make, it may be $500 here, it may be $1,000 here. That's where over time it will add up, one, to a better sales team, because they're going to do it every single time they go out there in the future moving forward, regardless of what the market conditions are, but it'll lead to higher profits. And if you're comfortable enough, depending on which book you want to use, you may have a book that's significantly lower than what the market allows for your area. Recently, a week ago, we had a 2018 GLE that came in that had decent miles on it. The Kelley Blue Book had showed that the car was worth around $18,000. But the actual market data for my area showed that the car was significantly higher in value than that on a trade-in. So we ACV the car for what we think we can get it for, and then why not shoot our shot with the lower amount going out with Kelley Blue Book? It worked. So we have that leg to stand on there. Now, is it going to work every time? No, it's not. But you take the winners with the losers, much like you do in Vegas. Like I said, everything's a gamble. Nothing is certain in the world. Nothing is certain in this business. But you make the best educated decision that you can with the data that you have and what your sales department has provided you, you can win more often than not. But it all starts with the sales team. It starts with them doing their job correctly and educating the customer on the market's changed. The market is different. We're not in the same market we were when you bought this car. And I have lost deals over this current market. I have one gentleman in particular that ordered a vehicle in May. And in May, his car was worth $58,000. Well, we're talking, it's September last month. His car that he ordered came in. What do you think the car was worth now? $48,000. He still wanted the 58 grand. Now,
Wow.
coincidentally, this is the third car this guy has bought from us. And every single time he has bought, the value of the car that he was trading in, percentage-wise, matched what we were giving him today. But he still wanted that 58 that he heard about in May. So we didn't do the deal and we walked away from it. There's deals you're going to make, and there's people you can have a conversation with, and there's people that are just not going to be receptive to it. And at that point, I probably don't even want to sell them a car.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, there's way more ways to be transparent with them now, with the customer, and set those expectations, right?
Mm-hmm.
With live market data or however. How do you because it's also competitive, right? On some trades, they're gonna get your offer and then pump in their VIN on the numerous services that have instant cash offers today. And with your book example, sometimes that's better or worse too, right? Depending if the book values are behind or ahead. But what do you think about that versus, because you kind of talked about the approach of more, I think it can be probably more beneficial to have the customer there and have the actual conversation and set expectations with real data, with real, what do you think about that?
I think having the customer there is key. I have done everything I can to try to stay away from the sight unseen appraisals and doing anything online. I've instructed the bulk of the staff to basically, if the customer wants to know what their trade's worth, go to kbb.com. That's what the primary site that they're going to look at anyway. Yes, are other sites going to give more money, or could other dealers potentially tell them more money over the phone? Yeah, that is 100% fact. I want to get them in the store. When they're in the store, the word control sounds very abusive, when you're talking about a customer, a client that you're trying to earn their business with. I want to control you. I want to control this. The reality of it is you want to control the situation as far as making sure you're putting the right money, and you're not going to get blasted on a car in 25 days if the market goes down. The only way you can do that is by looking at the car. And when we educate consumers on how some of these Carvanas or Vroom or whatever the other one is, will put a number in a car. One, they can place the car anywhere. They have the means necessary logistically to buy that car for XX dollars and then ship it to the market in which it'll bring the most money. Additionally, we educate them on the fact that they haven't seen your car. They're giving you an idea of what the car is worth, and you may hold out for this particular car to get sold to Carvana, so to say. And when their appraiser comes to look at it, or the person coming to pick up the car, they're going to evaluate it. What happens if they evaluate it and all of a sudden the car is worth less money because you didn't put on the website that it had this ding, this scratch, the tires were at 2 millimeters, not at 5 or whatever it would be, or the hood was taken off. Things like that, customers will never put into an appraisal. You and I, everybody that is around here understands that. Everybody thinks that their car is in excellent condition on Kelley Blue Book because they want to get the most money for it. That's where they're going to base their number off of for those other websites. The fact that we as a dealer have looked at said car and evaluated the car, we can point those things out to the customer. And then we also have, dare I say, the carrot of the car you want is here right now. If you wait for Carvana to come and they give you a less number for the vehicle, the car that you're looking at today could be sold in the next 3 hours. That's not a threat. That is a reality in this business. I have had people leave the store and go 2 miles down the street to go look at another product, turn around and come right back, and there's a buyer inking up on their car. That happens more often than not in today's world. And in the previous, 20 years I've had in the car business, over the last 3 to 4 years, I can't keep count of the amount of times that has happened. And making sure that we explain that to a customer that, hey, listen, it's their right to do so. It's their right to go find a different value for their car. It's up to them if they want to do it. All we can do is put the information in front of them and put the information in front of their eyes, and then it's up to them to make the right decision for themselves. If we've done our job good enough as managers, as a sales team, and really put time, energy, and effort into evaluating their car as it should, and my salesperson has done a good enough job selling the car that they came in on, hopefully it all works together to make some profit and to have a car deal.
So Jason, we're sort of getting to the end of the webinar. I just wanted to ask you one question, and then we leave it open for questions. So you could give a short answer. What tools and what data, what approach do you use to price cars to customers walking in?
Like I said, we currently use vAuto right now, and with vAuto has a really good appraising tool. I think the key to the valuation of what I'm going to do on that is to, one, try to get as many options as I can of the vehicle when I'm appraising the car. Know if it's got driver's assistance, know if it's got navigation, know if it's got a panoramic sunroof, know some of the features that it has in there so I can accurately put the book number on it with the correct options. And I base my market when I'm looking at what I could sell that car for. I look at similar models with similar equipment, and I also break down the mileage. So there's a lot of people that will only go and look at a vehicle and it averages out the mileage for all the cars that are going to be in that 300-mile range that we're looking for. I want to look at specifically the 30 to the 40s, the 30 to the 50,000-mile range, because if I have 30,000 miles on my car, I may want to compete with the car that's got 45,000 miles. And I may want to have my price lower to move it faster. At that point, I'm the one setting the market. Every single time I take a trade-in, I'm setting the market for that car, and then everybody else has got to lower their prices to meet me with a better valued car. So I use that. We look at Manheim, and we look at least at minimum 25 to 30 comparables to have an idea of what that car's worth, and then we look at how far away they are from us. If they're directly in our backyard, we're going to be aggressive as far as what the pricing is. If there's 15 of these cars in the country, I'd be willing to put a little bit more money in it and sit on it because it's a rare unit.
Wonderful insights. So if I kind of put you on the spot and just 1 minute, if you can sort of articulate, what would be the use of any AI, artificial intelligence, in being able to help you with pricing? What could possibly be the use?
I think artificial intelligence being able to be used for pricing could log into, let's say, my pricing system, and I could have a pre-planned structure set up for it that manually right now I have to go in price cars every 5, every 7, every 10 days or whatever it would be. Having that system set up and where it'll do it automatically saves me from having to look at 40 to 50 cars in stock on any given day and looking at the data, looking at the research, looking at everything for all 50 of those cars or all 20 or whatever I need to price out right then and there, and effectively cutting time out of my day. By cutting that time out of my day and having AI software do that for me and automatically adjust the pricing 1% or whatever I would set it up for, it allows me to go back into our CRM system. It allows me to go back and look at the trades that I might have missed. It allows me to make phone calls to customers on deals that were this close, but we couldn't get it done. That generates more income. by saving me time, it generates more deals. More deals lead to more income. More deals lead to more trades. More trades lead to more income. Everything is about trying to get that customer back in. And we all understand that salespeople are salespeople. They're only going to follow up with the hot prospect, the prospect right now that wants the car right now, the phone pop that's coming in tomorrow or whatever it would be. There's not a lot of salespeople that are actively following up with some of those older leads and things like that. Some of those cars that might be hitting that 30-day mark or that 45-day mark. That allows me to go into those cars and find those customers in the CRM system, reach out to them, rework a deal, something like that, to maybe sell that car prior to it hitting day 45 or day 60, where it needs to go bye-bye. That's what AI can save. AI can save time.
Excellent. So being able to look at all the data sources, apply various rules, come back with a nice valuation, a nice pricing, allowing you to spend more time with clients, allowing you to take more action on hot leads and older leads and so on. Very good. We are pretty much at the top of the hour. I just want to open it up for a few questions from people who joined us. This Eli, Steve, Rafael, and the others. Please, if you have any questions of Jason or Guy or myself, happy to take it on.
I got a question, Jason. Do you have a system? You talked about trying to buy cars outside of the auction from dealer. Do you have any kind of system that you've implemented that helps you source that inventory from the dealers that might be about ready to sell some cars that they've been sitting on or anything like that?
Well, there's a lot of dealers like myself. If I have my current inventory set up to where at day 30, it automatically goes to OVE. Some dealerships have it set up earlier, some have it set up later. If I'm looking for a particular vehicle, one, I will go to OV or Manheim and I'll source it out for how far away the car may be. I like to start off small, let's say 50 miles to 100 miles, because in theory, I can send a driver to go pick up that car versus a transportation company. And I will reach out to that dealership directly and see if I can get a hold of the pre-owned manager or the seller there prior to going through the actual auction to save the fees from that. I even have a couple of sales team members that will look to source cars through Facebook Marketplace. There are people that sell their cars online themselves privately. And if we can find a private seller that might be locally that has a vehicle we may be of interest in, we will reach out to them and say, hey, we saw that you were selling your car on Facebook. Would you be interested in letting us take a crack at it and seeing if you could do it? I mean, obviously, we're a cash money dealership. We do not have a need to get approved for a loan, or we don't have to go to a bank or do anything like that. We'll stroke you a check today if you bring us the title. And those kinds of conversations with customers that are in need of, let's say, some money or in need of selling their car for whatever various reasons, make it a lot easier for them to make that decision to do business with a actual company versus an individual. I think we've all seen some of those progressive commercials where the random person shows up at the house to test drive a vehicle and then never comes back or the car gets wrecked. Do those customers that are selling their cars on Facebook Marketplace or other avenues want to be that person to where Joe Schmo could come to their house and drive their car and then wreck it or steal it? No, the answer is no. They would rather sell it and be done with it at that point. They don't have the time. They don't have the energy to deal with people randomly showing up at their house or meeting them or calling them at all hours of the night. A lot of people want to be done with it right now. And if you give them a fair value for it, you'll find that you will be, or they will be done with it. But it's almost like when you're dealing with another dealer, it's like a cold call, and you're calling dealership doing some business to business sales. It's exactly like a cold call. They're not expecting it. They don't want it. You may have to get through the gatekeeper to get through there to that person. If you can't get a hold of them through the phone and can't get past the gatekeeper, I send them an email. I have no problem sending them in. I'm like, hey, I want to buy this car that you have, and I don't want to pay the auction fees. Can I buy it wholesale? And be done. And a lot of times they will even cut you a better deal on it just because. I mean, I did that yesterday to a dealer in Colorado who offered me, this is going to sound really dumb, but they offered me 67 for a car that they had listed for 68. But they were kind of negotiating that because of the shipping costs. I said, listen, I'll do you a solid. I'll sell you the car at 66 just to move it fast to cut through all the BS of dealing with the nonsense of the back and forth of the texting through OVE or the messaging or the email. I don't have time for that. I'd rather just get the deal done, moving along fast, and go away. And yeah, I could have made a little bit more profit, but they wanted to spend 15 or 20 more minutes discussing it. I don't have time for that. I want to move on to the next one. So yeah, I cut the price a little bit more to help them with the shipping. Done. Let's go.
Thank you. That is good, Jason. Any other questions? Any other questions? Thank you very much, Jason. So just to summarize, what I really heard is we're going through sort of challenging times. There's chip shortages. There's labor strikes that are looming. The impact may not be felt, but they would be felt in about 3 to 4 months time frame. You spend your time in sourcing cars properly, like 4 out of 3,000. That's an amazing number. So you do due diligence in sourcing cars. You also do due diligence when positioning, pitching, and make sure that you take all the data points, take the photographs, take photograph of the rim, make sure you have enough data to price the car properly, price it, in a way that the client understands why a particular price is being provided. Mm-hmm. Also, I heard you saying that AI there's a lot of time you spend being able to get all of the data from various systems, do all the sort of the computations and then come up with a price. And you would prefer that AI sort of brings all of that together, does the computation, lets you focus on customers, on selling. So instead of spending 8 hours on all of that, you spend maybe an hour, and it can be done more often, right? Instead of doing it once a week, which is what I heard you say, you can do it twice a week, so you have better prices. You don't have to lose because of pricing.
Correct.
That's what I heard. Troy, would you like to, or Guy, would you like to summarize?
I don't really have anything to summarize. I was more interested in how a dealership like his is actually sourcing, the private sellers that you want to buy from and the dealers. And it sounds like they're just using OVE to find the dealers.
Yep.
And then you're probably just going to the classifieds to find private sellers in your area.
Classifieds, Facebook, even Auto Trader has private sellers that are posted on there, and we could reach out to them as well. And I actually incentivize my sales staff to do this also. So if my sales staff can bring a vehicle in from outside, not the auction, not somebody that's trading it, if they do their job or they want to go the extra mile and find the vehicle, and if they can get that customer in to the store and we end up buying it, negotiating and buying that car, they get a $200 spiff just because it's more affordable for us to purchase the car that way than it would be at the auction. I mean, again, at the auction, you never know what you're going to get. I mean, I had a GLE come in the other day that was the whole driver's side of the car from the rear door back was completely bondoed, but none of it was identified through Manheim, and I had to send it back. But physically looking and touching and having somebody in front of you that you can negotiate with and talk about the value of their car and show them the data points that you're looking at is something that's an invaluable asset, and I pay them to do that. I pay them money to go out and do those things because their time is spent sourcing it, and they're sourcing it for me and the store. They should be compensated for it.
Very good, Jason. The other point that I forgot when I summarized is that just struck me, the fact that there is an opportunity for a dealer-to-dealer sort of arrangement. The fact that you do call dealers, sometimes cold call, sometimes just walk in, sometimes send them an email, because you feel you could sell that car better than what they're doing. And therefore, it makes sense for them and for you to do that. That's an excellent point. In fact, we could. That's a win-win. Right? Otherwise, it won't happen. I call it inventory rebalancing in a corporate situation, enterprise situation, where they have hundreds of locations. And we have, in our previous experience, done inventory rebalancing based on demand, based on signals, based on aging. You're saying move these cars from this location to this location. That will improve your sales and your turns. And what you're talking about is another variation of that. In fact,
Correct.
one of the things that potentially AI could do is, we've seen all the cars in your neighborhood or in your whatever 500-mile radius. You can call these 9 people because you could sell them better than the way they are selling it. Maybe that's another help that AI can provide you.
Absolutely.
Well, the help is if AI could provide, basically you need a good inventory feed that can provide you all of the places your salespeople are searching for those vehicles. Would be a real far reach is if AI got the point it could tell you this car that you could buy from this private seller, you'll most likely get this kind of vehicle on trade from that vehicle. That would be.
I wish that was the case.
Very nice. Thank you very much, gentlemen. This is an absorbing seminar from an expert like Jason, who provided these wonderful perspectives. Thank you very much for your time, Jason. We would save this and we would push it out to forums like YouTube and others, and we would distribute this so that this wisdom is available across.
Sounds good. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you, everybody, for
Thank you.
joining in, and I appreciate y'all taking a look.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you.
All right. Yeah. All right. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you all.